This conference will now be recorded.
And we'll call the meeting to order at 7:08. Does anyone have any corrections or additions to our agenda for tonight?
No.
Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
I make a motion to adopt.
Thank you, Sarah.
I'll second.
Thanks, Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And did everybody get a chance to review our minutes from December, which actually feels like a long time ago now, since it is a little bit over a month at this point. It was kind of nice to review that and remember last year, which feels long ago at this point. But are there any corrections for the December minutes?
With respect, yes, with respect to the December minutes, on point 10, you should take Kim's name out of there and just mention a contractual matter involving an employee.
That's a good point. Thank you, Scott.
And actually, if you just said that, you don't need to say any of the other stuff. But it's already there. You don't need to take it out. I'm just saying, for the appropriate signal that it's really subject to an exemption from the open meetings law, and can go into, not an exemption, but the open session, that is the executive session. All you need to say is, we're having a motion for an executive session in order to discuss a matter involving an employee's discipline, employment, whatever the particular is, and then just that's good enough. It's specific. Okay. It indicates that you're within the reason for the executive session. So just a simple iteration. They were doing it for this reason without identifying anybody.
Okay, that makes sense to not identify anybody. My understanding from Tim was that we should just copy and paste the law into the minutes so that we were covered. But
what I'm telling you is that all the law requires is a specific representation.
Okay.
With respect to one of the exemptions.
Okay.
So just the iteration of the entire exemption really doesn't help you any.
Okay.
Because then it raises questions, well, did you really discuss all of that stuff? So keep it simple. Just the way I suggested will work better and provides better protection.
Okay, that makes sense. We can update that.
Not that anyone cares.
We still try anyway.
Yeah, no, we need to get it right.
Unlike our prior chief executive, it's good to follow the advice of your lawyer.
I agree. Okay, any other corrections to our December minutes?
No.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve the December minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Sarah?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is our 2021 planning calendar. I put dates on there for things that I know, like our board meetings, the town board meetings. There was a couple questions that I had that actually, now that I'm thinking of it, will be a better conversation to have with Kim, probably, like about when we should try to reserve the fire hall for what hopefully will be an in-person Halloween party and things like that. Rebecca, do you have a calendar with you? Or something that you can look at?
Yes, I can pull one up.
Does it make sense to plan the Easter party for April 3rd?
Sure. Does it make sense to plan the Easter party is more the question. But,
Probably not, but I just felt like if we have a date, we have something to shoot for.
yep, April 3rd looks good.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
I was gonna look for when Halloween was. Hold on.
I had thought maybe the 24th for the Halloween party.
Sure, that sounds good.
And tentatively, again, things probably aren't going to be open in April, but if they are, we could hold our annual meeting on Sunday, April 25th. We could also do a virtual meeting. I think we probably want to wait and decide when we get closer to April what to do about the annual meeting. But anyway, plans for this month were Kim's annual performance evaluation, which is finished, but we'll hold off obviously talking to Kim about that until next month. Grant applications for stewards are due. I know Kim was working on that, so when she's feeling a little bit better, I can check in with her about where we are in that process. The Uline agreement is, our agreement is set through next year, so we don't need to worry about that for this year. And again, when Kim's feeling better, I'll double check with her that did anyone notice? I haven't noticed a posting in the Eastwick of our schedule of board meetings for this year. So I'll check in with Kim and see if she has plans for that to come out sooner. We can get that set. And coming up in February, I'll appoint somebody to be our nominating committee or our nominating chair, I guess, for our annual meeting this year. The only person so far that I know of who's leaving the board is Tom. Tom's second term is up in April. So we'll be sad to lose Tom, although I think he's looking forward to having some more free time in his life. Maybe you can fit in a couple more naps after those late night emergency calls. And I think those are the big things coming up for now. Well, it seems like it wasn't that long ago that we were trying to figure out what to do with summer camp, and that's coming up right around the corner again. Normally start planning for that in March. So we still have some things kind of on hold depending on what's happening with the pandemic.
Isn't there something for this Saturday night?
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up. We can talk about that a little bit more during committee reports. I didn't plan a youth committee space in, but we can talk about it during that. A couple teachers from the elementary school are planning a all aboard to light up the New Year event, kind of playing off of how there used to be a railroad that ran through the school district. So they asked local businesses and organizations in the entire school district to participate by putting up lights and or signs and or handing out treats, gifts to the kids that come by. So that's happening this Saturday. Rebecca and I are meeting with Elaine at the library tomorrow morning to set up what we can. If anybody has any lights or something that you'd like to donate for us to put out on Saturday for the kids to see when they drive by, that would be appreciated. If you still have Christmas lights kicking around or something that we can put on the entrances to the library, or we can hang things in the trees if we get enough.
You'll be there Saturday morning?
We're going to set up tomorrow. The weekends are busy for Rebecca and I with kids skiing and stuff. So we were going to try to do things tomorrow morning.
Okay.
There will be a little bit of setup on Saturday. We're going to hand out free books to the kids. So we'll just need to put out a table and books on Saturday and plug the lights in and things like that. Jen offered to make laminated bookmarks with quotes from the inauguration poem, which was a wonderful idea.
Wow.
So those are the plans we have. Rebecca's family.
I bought a bunch of candy for the kids. I didn't know if we're supposed to do that or not. Is that part of the package?
We can do that. We'll have to think about how to hand it out. I know other businesses are giving out things like lollipops and stuff. So we probably don't want to just put out like a bowl of candy that all the kids are sticking their hands in, but we can figure out some way to do that. And parents always appreciate more sugar.
Yeah, for sure.
It'll keep everybody awake on the car ride. So anyway, so if you do have lights or something that you can donate to that event, or you'd like to come and watch our book table on Saturday night, so Rebecca and I can drive our kids around, we appreciate any help that you guys can offer.
Or if you want to come tomorrow morning too.
Yep, if you'd like to come help hang up lights tomorrow. So I think that's it for our planning calendar. Oh, there, well, yes, never mind. I'm going to stop talking. That's the planning calendar for now.
What time tomorrow?
We're going to meet here at 9:30.
I'll see if I can come help.
Great, thanks. Next on the agenda, I sent an attachment for the new minimum standards for New York libraries, which just went into effect. It's not anything that's a big deal. There's a few additions from what there used to be on this list. I read through it. It seems to me to already be things, even the new stuff are things that we're already doing. Like we have a long-range plan for the library now. We're evaluating the effectiveness of programs, things like that. The only thing that I felt a little bit questionable about was number 13, which is provides library staff with annual technology training appropriate to their position. We don't regularly train our library staff, but they're all competent in providing the services that we offer. So I think we have it covered, but I'm interested to hear if you guys have any thoughts on that or anything else on the list.
On that training, I'll just jump in my previous role. I know Kim conducted with Upper Hudson a technology session on things like using Overdrive and Libby and things like that. So, which was, you know, obviously relevant for the library assistants. So I think there's some of that happens through Upper Hudson.
Oh, good. I didn't know that. Thanks, Jen. So I feel like we're covered in this area, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys all knew that we have a few additions to the list of things to pay attention to. But that, like I said, I think we're already up to standard. So obviously we're going to skip the director's report for tonight since Kim isn't here and has been sick for long enough that she didn't have one prepared. Following that is the COVID-19 pandemic phase. As you guys know, after we found out that Logan had contracted COVID and we were concerned about Kim because she was starting to have symptoms, we closed the library for the day waiting for advice from the county health department. And then the advice was a little bit confusing. So we moved back to curbside just to be safe, to make sure that none of the staff had contracted COVID. It seems like everybody is fine. A lot of libraries in our system have moved back to curbside service just because of the increase in cases. Normally I would check in with Kim before a board meeting, but today I just checked in with Vicki and Jody and Elaine and asked about how they were feeling between curbside and reopening. There's some concern that the staff feels a little more comfortable with staying with curbside for now. But that's something that we can talk about. If we want to keep moving forward with curbside or go back to by appointment only.
You're on mute, Scott.
Been a long day. Do we have data on the number of people who avail themselves of by appointment meetings on a weekly basis?
I don't have those numbers, but I know it's relatively quiet.
That probably doesn't make a difference one way or the other. There aren't that many people using the service, which both speaks to the level of risk that there may be. I mean, not a whole lot of people are coming in. We may want to consider, it's just sort of, it's hard to know, but we may want to consider doing this rather than permitting three. I guess my recollection is what we let either 3 individuals come in at one time. What we might want to do is limit it to sort of a family and just have a pod of people so that if we're still considering reopening for by appointment, it's basically just one either family unit that lives together like a pod or just one other person, which just reduces the number of people who are exposed to each other at any one time. Doesn't necessarily solve the problem with respect to staff. There's a problem.
Right.
That's one other way to do it.
How strong is the staff's feeling about it? Are you getting the sense that they're really kind of jittery based on what happened with Kim, or
It depends on who it is. Like Elaine, for example, has kids in school. She's still going out grocery shopping, doing, supporting her family. So she feels like her level of risk at the library is not any worse than the rest of her life.
Mhm.
But others were more concerned about bringing germs home to family members.
I guess if it seems as though if people are not widely availing themselves of this, that in deference to the staff, I'd probably go back to curbside because I don't think anybody's going to fault us for it. And we're not really cutting off from the community something to which they become accustomed and which they'll miss. And I think a lot of people are really, I've been kind of astounded or surprised at how worried people are about this. And it kind of makes me think about, gee, Tom, if you had any sense, you'd be more worried than you are. So I think I'd be inclined to stay with curbside.
Yeah, I agree with that, and at least until the numbers really start declining again in Rensselaer County.
Is it true that most of the people who came in for appointment were using the computer?
It did seem to be that way in the beginning when we first moved from curbside to by appointment only, but it doesn't seem like that now.
Okay.
I just know from my personal use of the libraries, I like to go rummage around, pick out some kind of a book or tape or something to take out, and it's difficult to do that if you're just going to take something that catches your eye. You can't get in. And looking at the flip side of what Tom was saying, if very few people are coming and using the service, there doesn't seem to be much of a risk.
Well, that's not what the
Yes.
staff. So if this, I mean, I could agree with that, but I don't think it doesn't sound as though the staff perceives it the way you might perceive it, Ed.
Yeah, and it's just all you need is one person who's the wrong person, and there's the risk, and you don't necessarily know who that is, obviously. So it seems to me, in deference to their concern, given that this just happened with Kim and they were potentially exposed. I was there that day as well, and I was like, oh wow, I was kind of freaked out about it for a day or so, and I think that's an understandable response. And because it's not like we're taking something away that there's a large demand for, it seems like we should just be deferential to the staff.
Yeah, I don't think we've gotten any complaints over the last, what has it been, a week and a half now that we've back to curbside.
Would it help people picking out books if we're curbside to do more advertising of what new books we have? Or I've seen libraries like for kids' books offer a bundle of books about pets or books about dinosaurs or something like that, where you might have gone in and picked things out, but now you can just kind of request something like that. Or
Yeah, that's a cute idea with the kids' books. I know Kim has been trying to post new books coming into the library. I think they're on the website also. But I like that idea with the kids' books. And even just, normally they have seasonal books out on top of the bookcase in the children's area, which my family always appreciated when the kids were little and we were in the library. So even just suggesting some seasonal books is a good idea too. I like that.
Actually, there's no reason why it should be limited to children. We could also do the same thing for adults. History books or something maybe more specialized American history or something like that. But gee, we have 2 or 3 of these that nobody's read in a long time. And, just put them out so people can look at them.
Yeah, we could find ways to post other books, not just the new books.
recommendations on Facebook or
Yeah.
I'm just laughing because I was thinking of the ones that haven't gone out in 5 years, you could recycle as new releases. I guess the jig would be up if they looked at the copyright, but it could be a way to recycle your old stuff.
Sometimes just reintroducing something gets people excited about it again.
One possibility may be to reintroduce people to Overdrive, and people can take a look at the books by using Overdrive, or is it Lisa, the other program? I think it's the older program. And then they can call in and check with us whether we've got them in the library. But I mean, that basically, you can pull different books up on different subject matters.
right. I know when I tried to request books, I maybe I was doing it wrong, but I thought I was requesting books that were in our library, but somehow I requested them from other libraries, so it took longer. I don't know if there's a way.
There is a way to see where they're coming from, because I actually saw ahead of time that my book was coming from another library, so I knew it would take a few days, but I haven't used it in a while now. But there is some way that you can see where your book is coming from.
I was just thinking that organizes books on subject matter areas, and people can just survey it rather than having the shelves. You just generally see what's sort of in the database for the interlibrary system, and it just may be a different way of just seeing what's available. Come and take a look.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we hear you, Ed.
Oh, you can? Okay. Would it be practical to put one of the computer terminals in the entryway where the books are given out? And that way people wouldn't be actually going into the library, but they would be able to use a computer for 15 minutes and also to search the library to see what kind of book they would want to take out without having to learn the remote system.
That's a possibility, but I think that would make it a little difficult with people coming to pick up books in the same space. If you have somebody hanging out there and other people are wanting to just grab and go at the same time.
And also sanitizing it every time somebody uses it.
Using the community room for that might be more, might work better to not interfere with people picking things up if we were going to go that route, because you can close off that room and be relatively safe, I suppose.
Has
I
the
think
staff, go ahead.
one of the key services that we offer is that we do give people computer access that don't have it. I don't know how many school children are using it, but certainly adults use it. I mean, even this weekend, there were people sitting in the parking lot using our Wi-Fi.
Okay, yeah.
And so then people who are most needy don't even have a way of using the Wi-Fi. They need the computer. And I think that is a service that we provide that there is, in many cases, no alternative available to them.
Yeah,
So
I
if we could
agree.
use a community room, maybe just one person in there at a time. Leave the window open so it's not particularly warm. That'll help them leave quicker, but it also give you fresh air and reduce concentration of germs might be floating around.
Well, if computer use is an issue, could we do like a hybrid where we're open 1 or 2 days a week? If someone like Elaine is working and is comfortable, it would limit when people could come in and use the computer, but at least there would be a time for it.
That's
If
a
you work
possibility
the
too.
same day every week, or does it rotate?
I think the staff works the same day every week, so it would be.
This staff team on Saturday, they're all taking like kind of like one Saturday a month. But otherwise they have regular days of the week.
Rebecca, that seems like a really good idea in the sense that if we have a very low usage to begin with, that just basically pushing everyone to a certain day where folks aren't concerned may actually work real well.
I understand some people might not be able to make that day, but at least it's something.
Yeah, they have the option. Yeah.
But we have to look at the fact that if the person is willing to work that day, maybe she should be getting some kind of hazardous duty pay because she's taking a risk that none of the other people are. It's one thing to consider. I'm going to disappear for a couple of minutes because I got to my house.
Okay.
Another thing I was wondering is the staff, when we do curbside pickup, is the staff still really busy the whole time, or has that gotten better?
I'm not sure. It seems like things have died down, that the busyness has died down overall just because all of the libraries are open in some capacity now.
Right.
In the beginning, it was so busy because they were pulling books for interlibrary loan because
Right.
half of the libraries were closed.
So as far as browsing for books, could we advertise that feel free to call us, and if you're looking for a certain topic, we'll help you over the phone find a book, or that sort of thing?
I feel like that's something we can offer. I kind of don't want to answer that for the staff because I'm not exactly sure how the computer
I
system
know
works.
when it first started, they were super busy, so I didn't.
That I would wait. I don't want us to decide that. I feel like I would wait to check in with the staff or Kim when she feels better about that. But so do you guys want to try and go with the hybrid model where we're open on days where people are comfortable and curbside where people aren't?
I like that idea.
Yeah, as long as the staff is okay with that,
And to be a crank about this, I mean, the issue, perception is important. We want to keep the staff happy, but at the same time, the issue really is the risk and what greater risk there is. And certainly there's a more interaction with folks, the more risk there is, but how much higher that risk is if you're masked and maintain social distancing and there's very low volume. The question is it reasonable to open or close based upon what may or may not be an unreasonable perception of risk?
right.
I don't have the expertise to evaluate that, but I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, the incidence of COVID is higher, no question about that. there's a greater risk. But the question is, from a transmission standpoint, if you're in a large room, you're socially distanced, and not a whole lot of time is spent in close proximity to someone, my understanding is that the risk isn't particularly high in transmission. But what the hell do I know?
If we're open for one day, we could look at it two different ways. You could find out who's comfortable with it and open on that person's day. Or you could say Saturday is the most likely convenient for patrons and open on that day.
But that's the rotating day for the staff, so.
I know, yeah, so depends on which way you want to look at it. From the patron side or the staff side.
Yeah,
I guess the only potential downside in limiting it to like one day when someone's comfortable is that you may push everyone who's going to that day. And then if basically usage is much higher, there's theoretically a higher risk. It doesn't sound like we have a huge level of activity. So all of this stuff seems to be just postulating about possibilities we don't know a whole lot about.
Right, and we would still be taking appointments, so they can still limit the number of people who are coming in.
Sure.
I think since they were making appointments, we probably have the historical data on if there was like what were Saturdays more popular for appointments or not. Maybe that would just help make that decision.
Right, that's a good point. I think that they were saving the logs of who was coming in just in case for contact tracing purposes.
Mhm.
Okay, so it still seems like we're leaning towards this hybrid model, and I can just check in with the staff about who's comfortable offering appointments and who's not.
Right, and maybe they have a recommendation of the best way to do it, or.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Sarah, we'll move on to the treasurer's report.
okay, I'm gonna keep it pretty brief. We finally got all of the TD bank accounts moved over to Capcom, so everything is now consolidated within Capcom, which is exciting.
Eddie's off the hook for our credit card.
The credit card is turned in, and we actually got a little money off of it that we rolled into Capcom. We have a little over $6,000 in the checking account, a little over $39,000 in the money market, $23,000 in special projects, and we took an additional $5,000 from the money market and put it into special projects to cover unforeseen repairs and things like that, because that was a concern. A little over, well, 7,587 in the Zook account, 23,867 in the scholarship account, and we have a little over 1,000 in business savings. That's an account that we have to have open, but it could only be $1, so I can take that money and put it also in special projects or put it into checking where we're going to be paying bills from. Either way is fine. So we now have $101,619.61 in Capcom.
So refresh my memory, what month do we get our payment from the tax roll? Is
I
it
think it,
April?
I think it should be coming soon.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
It's January or February?
I think in January.
Wow. Okay.
And that includes the state tax that you sent that little notification out about, that it's down 7.5%, or Cuomo is recommending it be cut 7.5%.
Nope, we're just talking about the $95,000 from the town.
Right, but I'm asking, does the state tax money also come in January?
No, definitely not in January. I don't know what month that comes in, but that's later in the year.
Okay.
So Sarah, were you saying that the money that you moved into the special projects account, is that to cover our 2021 budget, the numbers that we had in there for the new repairs and
Yeah.
for painting and that stuff?
Yes.
Thank you for doing that. So I feel like this conversation would be better held until we have Kim here to look a little more closely at our final budget numbers for
Mhm.
2020. But I would like at some point to talk about last year we voted to move our annual appeal money into the special projects account so that we had that money available to actually do things with. We ended up not doing too much stuff this year, partly because of COVID. A lot of the plans that we had in our strategic plan kind of got put to the side this year. So anyway, I feel like that conversation is better left for another time, but we do have some extra money in savings that we can move over, especially after we get the check from the town and are set up again for this coming year.
Mhm.
But we can hold off on that until next time. Does anybody have any questions about the treasurer's report minus our usual financial reports this year or this month?
Can I ask a quick question with the Zook account? Is there any requirement of like how much of that gets spent per year or any expectation of how long that money will last?
I know we have an amount set in the budget that Kim spends each year. Let me see.
And it's not a pressing question, so we can follow up afterwards. It just occurred to me as we were talking.
And I have a question. Is it replenished every year? No, it was a one-shot thing and okay.
Yep, that was a one-time donation, and I forgot that Kim has that in QuickBooks, but that number's taken out of the printed budget that I have because that we don't want to count that money in our final budget numbers for the year because it's not annual money.
Mhm.
Makes sense. I feel like we don't want to count that as expenditures going out of our $95,000 that we get because it's its own separate thing, if that makes sense. So anyway, I don't have that number in front of me, but I know Kim has a set amount that she's been spending each year.
I mean, my recollection was it was a dedicated account for acquisitions, wasn't it, over a period of time? And I think it was like 10 years.
Yes.
I have a vague recollection that we were taking $1,000 out a year or something around that. Is that correct?
I was feeling like it was a little more than that, like 1,500 maybe, but either way, it's a set amount. It's specifically for New York Times bestsellers.
And we have about 4 more years that we can go with it then.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. The director evaluation, obviously we'll wait for Kim to go through that. And after I sent you kind of my reorganized email today with all the attachments, I realized that I don't think I sent this out the first time, but if you're interested in looking at it ahead of us talking to Kim, I just consolidated everyone's numbers and everyone's comments into one big document that we can give to Kim so she can more easily look through it on her own after we talk about things. But once Kim is back with us next month, we can kind of go through that a little more section by section with her.
Do we need a motion to accept the treasurer's report? Or no? Okay.
We don't normally do that.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Right? I could have forgotten stuff over the holiday break. There was one section in the performance evaluation that I wanted to ask about, though, the staff development section, almost all of us, there's 3 subcategories in there. Almost all of us checked off not enough information for that.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal for this year, but just kind of thinking about moving forward with using this form for other years. Is this something that we want to figure out a way that we can evaluate this, or is this something that we want to take out of the evaluation? I know just in jobs that I've had, there's some cases where staff evaluates the manager. We could think of doing that just to get some feedback on Kim's interaction with the staff.
I think that's a good idea, really, to have some feedback from the people that are reporting into her. I think that's helpful.
Yeah, I think staff feedback, if it's anonymous or however you do it, would be helpful. I think when we developed the evaluation, we took the job description and made the evaluating points from the job description. So it should probably stay somewhat that way.
That makes sense to cover all the points in the job description. So
Yep.
so we'll just want to find a way that we can actually evaluate that, since we don't have answers for it currently.
Yeah, and I think it would be a combination of getting feedback from the staff about how they feel about their training, and also asking Kim what she's done in that area.
The feedback thing is a good idea. It's kind of tough, particularly with a small population, because you have less possibility of anonymity. And if, I don't think it would happen, but if people feel like it's fraudulent and the fix is in and they're going to be singled out if they don't have anything to say, if they don't have uniformly good things to say, then they feel like they're either being forced to lie to keep their job or putting their job at risk by telling the truth. And so that's something we'd want to think about, is how to make it anonymous, or ask, we could ask people if they feel comfortable and then say, well, if you don't feel comfortable, you're fired. No, we wouldn't do that. That's not funny.
I understand what you're saying though, Tom, especially right now when we kind of have basically 3 people working in the building. If you're writing comments, it makes it easier for Kim to accidentally know who is saying things.
Would Kim need to read the staff comments, or could that be just something we read?
You know, that's,
Yeah, we incorporate it into our assessment, that part of the evaluation. So it's totally unclear where it's coming from her perspective.
yeah, that's not a bad idea, because it could be somebody who's appointed on the board that does a summary of it and feeds it back to Kim, and that would allow the person who hears it to perhaps follow up with the individual. Well, that destroyed it. It could allow for the possibility of follow up on something somebody said to see how big an issue it was. But there goes your anonymity, I guess. But I think it's a good idea to have an intermediary. I'm just laughing because of the union work I've done, and anyway.
That's a good idea though, to have the board handle summarizing the staff's comments and then giving it back to Kim. Is anybody interested in taking on the project of developing a staff evaluation?
I could do that.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Are there any other questions or comments about the director performance evaluation?
I guess the only thing I would suggest with respect to staff evaluation, staff training, maybe we should just ask Kim what she does, what her
Yep.
plans are. And that's the other side of it. Probably that's the first thing to get.
Yeah, both sides.
Yeah, no, I think it was obvious, but I just wanted to suggest it.
Does Kim fill out a self-evaluation?
No.
That could be another thing to do. The same evaluation we fill out.
That's a good idea too.
Yeah, that is.
She might have more ideas, especially for self-development, than we do.
Yeah.
Does anybody feel as though the instrument is too detailed?
I do.
Okay.
I
Does
mean, it's sort of, I mean, we're really teensy and there aren't a whole lot of people involved. You can solicit information in terms of how Kim thinks she's doing when you sit down and speak to her on an annual basis. I mean, to be so formal for such a teensy organization, I'm not so sure. It's just a lot of paperwork. I don't think it changes anything. I think you need the information, but how you go about and develop it, I'm not so sure that the paperwork is all that helpful. As long as you're asking the right questions.
It was designed for a different time and circumstance, and
I wasn't. This is not by way of criticism. It's just.
No, I know that. I think that it might be, we might be able to do something a lot simpler or just verbally.
I think I like the formality of the paper because I believe the reason it was developed in the beginning was because the evaluation had slipped by for a few years. And with an actual formality of filling out paper every year, it's less likely that we forget that, oh, we have to evaluate the director.
And it's also a reminder of what the core competencies are supposed to be.
Right. And with new board members, it passes it on to, in 3 years, the board will look totally different.
Yeah, I like it too. I'm not saying I necessarily like the extent of detail in it, but I think it's important to have something on paper that everyone evaluates in the same way together.
I agree. I would be comfortable if it was a little less detailed, but I like the reminder of going through it point by point and thinking about what our goals were and what we did to meet them. So it sounds like we're offering that if someone was interested in consolidating it a bit, that the board would be comfortable with that, but we like I can't think what the word I want, but the action, I guess, of the motion of going through the steps to keep us all on the same page.
Yeah, I could do that as a going away present if nobody else wanted to do it.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Thank you for your chuckles, Scott.
We didn't canvass if anyone else wanted to do it, but I assume that given the silence, it's yours.
General MacArthur said the being head of the post-war occupation of Japan was like being handed a brimming bedpan and asked to guard it with your life. That's a little bit what this might feel like.
I was gonna say, that's part of our memorial library, Veterans Memorial Library. That's why we speak about this particular example.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we'll move on to committee reports. And Sarah, we'll start with the brand and marketing committee.
Yeah, we have some kind of, I think, relatively exciting news on the survey front. Hopefully you've all had a chance to take a look at the grant application that Jen actually was the one who found this particular grant that seems like it's almost ready-made for the project that we have, because it's focused on small rural libraries and starting a community conversation. And we felt like this was kind of a slam dunk for that. I took a look at the application that we put together. I mean, the application was the application, that our feedback on the application that I sent around. But if we succeed in getting the grant, it covers the great bulk of the costs. It covers $3,000 of the overall project. And we also put together some support letters from our potential partners, and we got both Chief Corlew from SVFD and Larry Eckert to sign letters. We sort of drafted some letters, and they made some changes based on what they're looking for, but that's going to be really helpful. Bonnie Frank has agreed to sign a letter as well. And so has Pam Coopers for the Stephentown Community Association, and she sounded very interested. I'm still working on Bev, and we need to hear back still from Phyllis, I guess, on veterans. But I don't think we have to have a letter from every organization. I think just having support from the community is going to give us a lot better chance of getting the grant. So that's really good. And just the fact that people now seem to be a lot more enthusiastic and feeling like it's going to be beneficial for them. I sent around also the most recent questionnaire, the most recent survey, just one major change in it, which is asking a question as to how important people feel it is to have a local Stephentown fire service and EMT. Which I think will be really helpful. Tom, you had mentioned that you thought that would be a good thing to know. Now, I don't know what I'm going to get back from just signing the support letter doesn't mean that people are locked into being partners on the thing. They could back out, but it just seems like if they've done that, it's a lot more likely that they will want to be partners. It kind of doesn't make sense to have taken that step if you're not going to, but they're not locked in. That's definitely true. So we're kind of psyched about that. And we have a little bit more leeway on pricing as well. And it means that the partners will have a lot less to contend with cost-wise. Maybe what pay for a little bit of the marketing communications pieces that the survey is completed and we start the conversations. So we're feeling really good about that. Any questions about that?
There was a meeting, a town meeting that I was at where people were talking about, did we get anything? Did we get anything from the seniors? And they seemed to.
We actually gave well, Jen can speak to it because she's the one that called Judy, I believe her name is.
Okay.
It looks like she's.
I think Jen just got a fire call or.
Yeah, I did too. I know what happened, so if she can't. Can you speak about the Judy call or?
Sure. Yeah. So it was a good conversation with her, but I think she really felt like, since I think she does a lot of the work for the seniors herself without a lot of other people involved, that she didn't have really the bandwidth to consider doing this right now, and they definitely don't have any money to consider it. So I tried to reinforce the idea that don't let the money be an obstacle because we're hopeful about this. So if you think that could be of any benefit, of any interest, just wait and see how this goes with the grant, and that we would be glad to have them participate. But she was fairly definite about it. We agreed to stay in touch in case things changed, but it seemed like right now they are not going to be interested in participating.
Say I'm kind of relieved because the thing is like way too long, and to have an entire additional organization on there will, I think, will make it more expensive and also be kind of daunting for respondents. And we do have a question in there about whether they attend Stephentown seniors events. So that's something anyway. I felt more concerned about not including them, you know, not asking. And the fact that we asked and she wasn't that interested, I feel more comfortable.
Yeah, good. I was kind of cringing when they were talking about it because I know that everybody's kind of putting their spoon in it, and then it has to be changed and they want their ideas incorporated and blah, blah, blah. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about that, but then there aren't very many changes or questions, new questions coming back. It's more theoretical than it is actual, I think.
yeah. Well, that's,
One thing that I found really interesting, though, that Larry said when Jen and I were speaking to him about the project, was how he thinks this could be really helpful to finally get all these organizations in Stephentown to talk with each other and sort of have one set of facts to discuss that can help start organizations row in the same direction, because he feels like everyone's sort of in their own silos and pulling against each other in many instances. And so he seemed to feel like this could be really helpful to move that in a positive direction, which made me feel good. But I think we're going to have to be real sensitive in the reporting of the data to make sure that we make it clear that these, you're not competing with each other, organizations. Like if this organization has much higher awareness than another, it's probably because of the type of service that they offer rather than that they're better. And we're going to have to be real sensitive about how that's communicated.
Thank you, Sarah and Jen, for all the work you've been putting into this. I've been excited about this project from the beginning for the reasons, Sarah, you were just saying that Larry was expressing, just about kind of bringing all the organizations together and looking at the same set of facts and working in the same direction. And it seems like with the grant, it's actually a possibility now. So I can't imagine how many hours of time you guys have put into getting everything ready, but I appreciate all of the work you've been doing on it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, well, it's been fun.
that's good.
We'll be kind of deflated if we don't get the grant, but we have high hopes. So hopefully that's going to work out. So if we're good with the survey and no other questions or thoughts about that, also on the brand committee update, just want to say that I sent around a moderator's guide draft to do the tween focus group that we had talked about for a long time. I got a lot of good, interesting feedback. And rather than revise the guide in emails, we're going to have a meeting on Monday, January 25th at 12:30 to discuss people's thoughts. If anyone, I invited people who are kind of more closely associated with things like Rebecca, but if anyone else would like to come, please feel free to come along. And the main questions that we have is, do we want to use youth moderators, as Rebecca had suggested, because she knows some teens. It'll probably make younger kids feel more comfortable talking with them and open up a little bit more than maybe a moderator like me. But on the other hand, I have a little bit of experience that they don't have, so that's a question. It seemed like it was kind of long. People thought it was too long. It's like 2 hours. So what should we cut? Do we want to have two groups and separate by gender so that the kids are more comfortable talking, because they might be shy and feel tongue-tied if they're in a group with the opposite sex or the other sex, or I guess you don't say that anymore, but anyway, you know what I mean. And then get more specific about what program ideas we want to test, because I wasn't that clear on that. And do we want to test whether people would be interested in these things in a virtual setting and an in-person setting, or are we really envisioning this as being down the road when we're back in person and we don't need to have that nuance in it. So those are the kind of things that we're going to be talking about on Monday. And the only other thing I have here is just I retained the section about the veterans speaker series, just because I didn't want to forget that that's in the mix. And Kim, I believe, is going to be following up with the 3 professors to see if they would be interested in speaking to veterans about military history, history in general, whatever we think the veterans would be interested in. So that's still a possibility, and we got those names through Ali. And also I wanted to say that Robin has a lot of marketing experience, and there's a lot of other things that aren't covered here that we wanted to focus on, and hoping that she's going to be interested in getting involved, and really looking forward to working with her on a lot of those things.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. You have been busy. All right, Ed, you're back just in time for the Strategic Planning Committee report. We don't really have a report, but in January we had planned on talking about whether we wanted to have a strategic planning meeting just to get focused on what our goals are that we set for this year. I think it would also be helpful to do that after we decide how much money we're moving into the special projects account, so we actually know how much money we have to work with to get things moving.
Well, that's sort of a chicken and egg question, because if we have good projects, then we should move more money in. If we don't have any money, then we shouldn't be looking for good projects. Yes, the answer is we probably should have some kind of a meeting, just so we can update and see if there's anything we want to change. So it would be fine with me in a couple of weeks or something. I don't think there's any urgency, since we can't really do much as a group, but it's worth considering. I mean, certainly the grant that Sarah's getting, that is a new thing in our plan. It wasn't something expected. I was impressed how much work you guys did, Jen, on the application. That must have taken a fair amount of time.
We were working collaboratively together, and I'd say we took maybe like 3 passes at it, something like that. So it didn't take a ton of time, but it was fun. And it kind of put the whole project into a different lens that made it feel more like, wow, this is actually kind of an interesting thing we're doing. This isn't just a survey. This could be like kind of really cool thing for the town. So
Plus, it may not even cost us a lot. Which would be nice too.
Right, and it's free.
No. I'm not perfectly happy to have a meeting, think about great thoughts and such. Probably sometime next month. Ideally, I guess before our next meeting. What's that? The 3rd Sunday in February. Is that good? I don't have a calendar in front of me.
The 3rd Sunday is after our next board meeting, and the Sunday before our next board meeting is Valentine's Day, in case anybody needs to not be busy that day. But we could meet Valentine's Day morning, and you still have time for your sweetheart.
We'll bring our sweethearts to the meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. Yes. Well, actually, no, to me, Valentine's Day is fine. Anybody else interested in coming on Valentine's Day? Or maybe more diplomatically, the 14th of February.
I don't get any better offers.
I actually think I can't because, well, I could, but I think I have one of those Rensselaer Plateau mindfulness nature walks, and I would rather do that than sit in the library and discuss this matter.
Well, we can have it earlier. Up to you, huh? Or do
Well,
you
it
want to do before?
morning. I mean, I don't have to be there, right? Or do I need to have to be there?
But it's more a committee of the whole. It's not very selective. Anybody who can come should. Everybody's got ideas.
Okay.
Yeah,
Or
it's
Is it better the week before?
or the Saturday. Does the 13th work?
Yeah, that would be fine. Oh, no, no, no.
Yeah.
That's the day. That's the day that I can't do it. I can do the 14th. Never mind. I take it all back.
Sunday morning doesn't usually conflict with much,
Yeah,
but
no,
trail
it's a-
walk is an obvious thing. that they conflict
no, I can do the 14th.
with. Okay, so let's do that then.
At 9?
9 o'clock in the community room.
Does that work for everybody to have an in-person meeting? We can also do that virtually if everybody's coming so that we have,
Can we make that decision when we get closer to the date and see how things are going with the COVID?
Okay. All right, but either way, it's 9 o'clock on that Sunday morning.
Yep.
Good, thank you.
okay. So I had talked about making a space for the youth committee to go over the Light Up the New Year event, but it seems like we've kind of fleshed that all out already. We'll be here tomorrow morning if anybody wants to donate lights or time or anything else to the event. And the actual event will be taking place Saturday evening. If anyone would like to help man our free book table and wear party hats or something to help celebrate when the kids get out of the car. So if I've piqued your interest, you can let me know.
Well, it should be the second coldest day of the year this season so far. Because
Is it on Saturday?
Yeah, it's supposed to be well below 10 degrees.
Ooh. Well, maybe we'll be watching the free book table from inside and not too worried about how many they're running away with. Okay, so next on our agenda is going over the draft contract that Scott put together. We'll go into executive session for that, and it makes sense to me for Scott to craft our motion for that, if you're interested.
There we go. I'll make a motion to go into an executive session to discuss contract terms for one of our employees.
I second the motion. I can do that now since it's alive.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So let me stop the recording.
This conference will now be recorded.
Robin back. Okay. Jen is on her way. So we don't really need to wait for them. Does someone want to make a motion that we adopt the draft director employment agreement with the additional line about reviewing compensation annually?
I so move.
I second it.
Thank you, Ed and Sarah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jen and Robin. Welcome back. Does anyone have any old business to cover? I don't think I have anything tonight.
I don't have any old business, but you skipped the fundraising committee report.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
I have nothing to report except if we're doing something on Valentine's Day, do we want to schedule, because we have so little time, a pop-up Valentine's bake sale so that people can purchase large amounts of stuff from us to give to their sweeties on Valentine's Day? And since we'll all be here for Sunday, we can kill two birds with one stone. That's sort of like a morbid thing, but so if there's a way, if Rebecca's looking like out of your mind, moving right along. I just suggested because I would think everyone wants to give sweets to their loved one. Or loved ones.
God, I would have to buy
Kids.
any treats you make.
What was that, Jen?
I said, Scott, I'll happily buy any treats that you make.
I've never made, there's a guy in my office who makes toffee every Christmas, and it's just like, it's sort of like crack. It's really, really good. And I wanted to get the recipe, but it's like too hard to make. I mean, he's talking about like the specific gravity of the sugar and maintaining the temperature to like 0.3 degrees. And if it goes over by 1/10 of a degree, then it incinerates. And I just said, I'll stick with
That
pods.
sounds like an ordeal.
It's really good though.
Well, I'm open to that idea.
Well, if we're going to do it, we're going to have to move. I mean, because what is it? It's like in 3 weeks.
The only, right, Valentine's Day is coming fast. The only
But
other
it'll be little.
is we need Kim to set up the website unless someone else feels experienced enough to do that. At this
Platform is your website on?
I honestly don't know.
If it is WordPress or Squarespace, I can help you with that.
Okay. I can try to figure that out.
I think it's
Actually, you know what? You might be able to look it up. Hold on.
it's Squarespace, I believe. Squarespace.
Oh, is that the actual Square that we swipe credit cards on? That's how Kim set up the fundraising site, right? Through Square.
I think it's a Squarespace site. I think it has that in the address.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
Now that you say that, that makes sense. At this point, I'm a little concerned about how long it's going to take for Kim to recover.
It actually looks like you guys are on WordPress.
For the website, but now that we're talking about it, I think Kim used Square, which is like that little square that you plug into your phone to swipe credit cards. I think that's how she set up the fundraising site. And
Okay.
it got posted, like the link was posted on our website.
Okay. But if you guys need any kind of website updates or whatever, I can help you with that. I'm pretty advanced with WordPress.
That's wonderful.
On
I
a
am
personal,
unfamiliar with most technology.
on a personal note, I would feel a little funny about the bake sale because it would go, Anita, do you mind making something for the bake sale that I can give you for Valentine's Day or something like that? That's a little circular.
I might suggest that you sort of like expand your experiences and maybe this year, give it a shot.
I might. I've given up drugs though, so there's
You
not
just have
much.
to buy someone else's treats to give to Anita.
Well, I suppose that's the consumption end. Then there's the production end. But
And then you
I'm
just
not
get her a massage to make up for all the hard work she did.
Well, eh,
But anyway, it doesn't sound like we have resounding support for this yet. Is everybody else on board?
I'm on board.
I have the same problem that Tom was just describing.
Sounds like we have some challenged people here in connection with candy and cake making. Needs to be changed. It's a good
bake.
skill.
I can be your resident vegan baker.
Resident, what kind of baker?
Vegan.
Vegan.
Oh, vegan.
I never baked a vegan.
Very tasty.
I'm willing to give it a go.
Okay. So
I was going to say, are we going to do this or no?
it sounds like people are on board. I'm going to try and leave Kim out of it for now and see if Robin and I, mostly me giving Robin some slight support, can figure out how to set up the website. And if we can figure out how to do that, then why don't we keep moving with it?
Sounds good.
And sorry, I forgot about you in committee reports, Scott. Okay, so any old business? Since Jen and Robin are technically still the public, do we have any public comment? But more importantly for Jen and Robin, moving on to new business. Like I said before, we're very excited about your guys' interest in being on the board, and we're also very hopeful of having all of our seats filled again. And if you guys are both still interested in joining the board, we can vote on you filling our vacant seats at this point.
Yes, I'm interested.
I'm interested.
All right. Jen's arm is already twisted the whole way around, so she's not getting out of it.
I was going to say, you guys are interested, but does that mean you'll do it?
What kind of doing it for us?
Depends on how well you bake.
Okay, we'll take that as a yes.
So our two vacant seats, one term actually is ending this April. So you would just finish out that term and then start your own new term following that. You can still serve your own 2 4-year terms following, I'm saying following too many times, but you're going to fill the vacant seat and then you get your own 2 4-year terms. So one of the vacant seats is ending this April. The other vacant seat is ending the following year in 2022. So just because I talked to Jen first, I was planning on putting Jen into Nettie's vacant seat, which ends in 2022, and Robin into Marcia's vacant seat, which ends in 2021. Scott, can we vote on that together, or do we need to make separate motions for each of them?
Let's do separate motions for each. It's
Okay.
a cleaner record.
Okay. So would anyone like to make a motion to have Robin fill our seat number 4 on the board with the term ending in April of 2021?
I so move.
I'll second it.
Okay.
We'll give the second to Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I made the motion, that way I get to know Robin. Otherwise, I'd see you again.
Motion carries. And would
Welcome to
anyone,
the board.
welcome to the board, Robin.
Board, Robin.
Nice to be here.
Robin's
And-
going to Disney World now.
Would anyone like to make a motion to have Jen fill our vacant seat number 7 with term ending in April of 2022?
I so move.
I'll second.
Sarah? And thank you, Ed. All in favor?
I,
I,
Motion carries. Welcome to the board, Jen.
Thank you.
Hey, this is great.
Yes, I'm very excited to have both of you. You both seem committed and like you have very capable skills to help us out. I think everybody knows, possibly not Robin, but we're grooming Jen to take over the president's seat. So Jen and I have already met and been exchanging information. So we'll keep working on that, and we can vote on Jen stepping into the president's role in the next 2 or 3 months when she feels comfortable.
You know what's happened before with inexperienced people stepping into these roles, so be careful. You take all your training to heart, Melanie.
Well, I really appreciate your interest in taking on this position. So that's everything I had for tonight. Does anybody else have anything else?
just, Anita and I are going to be tomorrow afternoon, probably investigating why the floorboards in the community room are buckling in front of the sink.
Oh, I haven't been in the community room. I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for doing that. That
You're
sounds
welcome.
like it could be a systemic problem.
don't know yet.
All right. Well, I think that's everything we had to cover for tonight. We're done 15 minutes early, which is pretty good for us.
Amazing.
Excellent.
So can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I so move.
Thank you, Ed.
My favorite motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Tom. All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
Sorry. Meeting adjourned at 8:45. Stop the recording.